Hey, this is a podcast. No, wait, it's a comedy podcast. Well, we tried to make it a comedy podcast, and it's not meant to offend anyone. So don't get offended, okay? And wait, there's something else. Oh, yeah, yeah. Listener discretion is advised.
Audiomatic presents Our Last Week.
Hi, Kunaal.
Hello, Pal.
So, interesting week for me. My mother fell for a phishing scam.
Oh God.
Yeah, they called her up and they said, we're going to cut off your electricity if you don't call this number. And she called the
Yeah.
number. I don't know why I'm smiling. I shouldn't be smiling. She called the number and they said, please go to this website. And it was called Go Pay Quickly or something.
Go pay quickly or you die.com.
Yeah, go pay quickly or we cut off electricity. That was the thing. But they are very
Yeah.
sophisticated. What happens is that they put an app on your phone and then they kind of put a virus in your phone.
Right.
And they were able to change her Gmail. And the scariest, they were able to forward her calls to their number.
Oh.
Yeah,
Forward her calls, meaning that no matter who was calling her, it would go to their number. Because then they'd
exactly.
have a lot of other ladies calling them.
Yeah, and then they would pick up the phone and said electric supply, and these people would ask for my mom, and then they would
Yeah.
tell them your electric supply will get cut off.
They'd say, yeah, but what happened to Mrs. Pal?
Yeah, they're like, well, her electricity got cut off, and then she was in the dark, and we can't tell you what happened to her, but she's missing. They're like, okay, tell us how to pay, and they're like, well, go to gopayquickly.com.
Yeah.
And what they do is they're able to get into your phone, they're able to do a quick charge on your credit card, but also what they're able to do is they're able to wipe out the transaction from your what's SMSs. So you have no transaction ID. So you can't go to the bank and say, we did this. So basically, that phone is ruined.
And the police can't do anything.
So we called the police. They were very nice. Actually, the police were the kindest. They were like, "We're so sorry it happened." They were. First of all, I wasn't expecting the police to pick up right away. So Calcutta has a cyber cell. You could call them, and they're very
Yeah.
responsive. But I think their job is to console senior citizens and say stuff like, "I'm so sorry, all your savings are wiped out." But look forward to the future. They're more like grief counselors because I asked them a bunch of times, I have the number from where the scam call came. Do you want the number? So
No.
they said, no, no point. So they've decided that they're not going to solve crimes. They're just going to kind of
Yeah.
console old people after they're jacked.
They're just there to make you feel a little bit better. They're not there to solve anything, really.
Yeah, and I guess for old people, it's sort of like, yeah, but you're totally wiped out. They wiped you out. They're like, yeah, but the police were very responsive. In India, that's what you need from the police, just kindness, like,
Yeah.
because I was very happy they were kind, but I was also like, don't you need the number? Shouldn't you be able to trace? And they were like, don't worry about that. How are your parents? Like, I was like, okay, that's one way to deal with it. And they were also quoting, the police should not be quoting the Netflix series Jamtara, which is about, it's an Indian
Yeah.
Netflix series about caller scams and getting money out of you, right? Now, if you go to the reporting officer and he's like, have you seen the show Jamtara? You should see it. Like, he should not. He should just be taking the facts of the case. He should be referring to another piece of popular culture that depicts this. Like, say if my legs are eaten by an animal, right? And I go to the police station. The police should be recording the facts as is, where is of my incident. They should not be like, have you seen Jaws?
You must watch that film.
That should not be an answer.
No, as in, even if you're going to report like some serial killer incident and all, they'll start saying this is just like Zodiac. They'll start
Yeah.
saying stuff.
See it.
But I think that a lot of them must have gotten into this line after watching Jamtara only. They're like, oh, this is so exciting. A lot of the young people in the police department must be like, oh, this is what I want to do.
And a lot of criminals.
They must
So
have
that makes
a
me
lot of
wonder
criminals also.
that a lot of web series that maybe, this is a warning for us that we're involved in, maybe we're even right, maybe we act in. Later, you realize that what is supposed to be as a society warning, right? Like you do a series as a moral warning to society that this is what's happening, society, watch. Many people see it as a inspiring thing.
Yeah.
Like there are many Indians watching Jamtara like it's Chuck the India.
Right.
Just like
Right.
millions of girls want to play hockey, millions of people want to be scammers. They're looking at it in the
Yeah.
same light.
They're getting tips.
Tips, yeah. I think somehow people like us, screenwriters, are to blame because we think of some very clever kind of heist and we give it to characters in
Hmm.
a story, not realizing that it might inspire people in the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like I'm saying, not to make a dated reference, but maybe when Mr. India came out, if
Hmm.
Mr. India was a goal for millions, I want to be an invisible hero. I'm sure there were millions who thought I want to be Mogambo. Even today, I think it's 50-50. Like deep down, like for example, I don't know about you. Like, I don't know whether you like Mr. India more than Mogambo. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
It's the silence, I think. It's the silence. Kunal, you had a holy conundrum. There aren't very many countries where you have a festival where you step out of your house and you get drenched in color,
Yeah.
which happens to all of us on Holy Day. But you went to a slightly protective environment, but left with mixed results.
Yeah, well, I went to a club for a holy celebration,
Yes.
and I mean, we go there quite often. Many holies we've been there, and it's lovely. I mean, it's a lovely setting. There's, I mean, of course, very loud music playing, and there's this like they sometimes put on and off these rain showers in which you can get wet in and dance to music and all of that. It's and the color and water and all of that. The only thing is that once you get there and you've rejoiced a little bit and you've put color on each other, then you finally need to get a table and get some food and drink, and
Yes.
that's where it starts getting tricky. And now this is something that I've noticed not only with Holi but with all these occasions, in a lot of these parties, and especially where there are coupons involved or there's signing
Yes.
involved or there's or sometimes even when there's cash involved, there's a crowd around, the kebabs or around the drinks or whatever it is. So here the system was you have to get coupons or you have to sign on some sort of parchi and then you have to take it and get your plate of chicken tikka or your beer or whatever you want, and large crowds of people. So and then of course there's the hunt for the right table, which is in the shade and which is got enough space around it, not too messy, not too dirty. um so there's that hunt for the table, and then there's this quest for food and drink. So you generally leave someone at the table and say, hold on to the table, just hold this table.
Yeah.
I'm going to get the drink. I'm going to get, what do you want? What do you want? So then you go like, and when you come back, generally it's after around half an hour, 45 minutes, you're sweating, you've been through this crowd, you've managed to get like, 1.5 plates of like a chicken kali miri kebab or whatever it is, and a little bit of beer, and you couldn't get all the drinks because it was just not possible, and it was too. And finally you land up on the table, and then everyone's like, yeah, you did it, and all, you got the food, you got the drink. You really feel it's like a primal thing, it's like one of those, like a feeling of really leaving a cave or some sort of dwelling around a fire, and you've gone out into the wild and you've got this food and drink back for everyone, like sustenance for people. But ultimately you think about it and it's just a plate of chicken tikka, and it's just like a bira and some. But what have you done? You feel relieved and tired by the end of it, and so it's quite exhausting also.
But I think without realizing what you've done is you've opened a big post-colonial debate argument. I think because
Hmm.
I mean, for context, let's assume that one of the clubs you were in were one of those sort of clubs from the time of the empire, right? which have now evolved into very Indian institutions, but maintain just the building, the colonial building, right? They have not really adapted to, because they were not originally built to celebrate Holi and kebabs and have a bar with no queues with mass chaos, So these institutions are also trying to uphold British values in the face of Indian dining warfare. My conundrum for you is this: that this in this general chaos, do you think when the British thought India will be independent and these clubs will at some point in the future celebrate Holi and there will be a day like this of celebration, do you think they envisioned that we would make it like this? Like we would take their clubs. And I'm glad we have. I mean, I'm not bringing up a moral issue, but I'm just saying, do you think that if this came and saw this, they would understand that perhaps there was a reason why they were secluded in these clubs away from the rest of India?
I mean, I think it's just the number of people, right, that need to be catered to at the same time. I mean, it's a bit of a like I guess back in the day, pre independence, I don't know, like there are, you see photos of some of these events, and everyone's sitting down at a table, and it looks all very, everyone's in suits and quite dignified,
Yes.
and it's looking
Yes.
like very, like there's some sort of there's some sort of decorum in place. But I'm wondering whether that was only for the photograph. I think that otherwise, when they had to get their drinks, I think
Do you think the British
they
were
were
just
also
like us?
clamoring.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Two
they
bloody
were also
berries!
clamoring.
Two bloody
Yeah.
berries! Wait, sir, wait, sir. There's a queue, sir.
Where's
Wait.
my gin? Where's my
Yeah.
gin? Yes, it's
Vodka
like,
bola tha. Vodka bola tha.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's the same. It hasn't
I
changed.
think it
You
was the
think?
same. It wouldn't have changed much.
Reginald, Simon, photograph. Suddenly everyone
Yeah.
behaves.
Ah. And then everyone behaves,
I,
and
dare, I
everyone
dare
just
say,
gets
old
into.
chap, should we just stand in a
Yeah.
line? Yeah. They're holding up their gins. And so 70 years
Yeah.
later, people are saying how
And then
sophisticated the club used to be.
sophisticated, and then that big flash goes off, poof, and the
Yeah.
photo's taken, and everyone again rushes, get back to the bar, get back to the where is my coupon, and all of that stuff is going
Come
on.
on! Come on! I'm sorry! I'm sorry! Kunaal, big Bollywood actor recently got barred by the Stock Exchange of India from giving advice on buying shares. So he was doing YouTube ads where he was telling retail investors, individuals, to buy shares in mid-range stocks. And I guess he was playing himself, and he came on these channels and he was like, "Hey guys, why don't you buy mid-range stocks? I'm an investor, blah blah." So the Stock Exchange of India banned it. They said this is nonsense because a lot of people lost their money investing in this company that was investing in mid-range stocks. And the Bollywood actor came out and with a statement saying, "I'm really sorry I did this, but we didn't dupe any investors. In fact, my wife and I know zero things about stocks, and we ourselves got duped. And I've lost all my money that I invested. So I'm sure others have as well. So we're in the same boat. Yes, I was the endorser brand ambassador, but I'm jacked as well along with you." So my question to you is, should celebrities endorse financial products they don't understand anything about?
Well, I think that if you're endorsing something as yourself, like
Yes.
as the person that you are, and you're saying that, you know, like you're asking someone to make an investment in something, then you could argue that then, maybe celebrities shouldn't advertise buildings that only don't exist, like property, because you don't know what's going to happen with that property as well,
Exactly.
right? You don't know whether it's going to
Exactly.
be built or not. But then someone could say, "Arey, but I saw your face on the poster, and I invested in this
Put in my
building,
life
and then
savings. Yeah.
put in my life savings, and then they ran away with it." But that could happen with, like say I'm advertising a packet of chips, and someone finds a thumb in it, and then they eat it, and they fall violently sick, and they say, "Arey, but I saw your face on the packet," and then and then so I guess that's where liability comes in, right? How much of this
Correct.
am I liable to do? Like I am. like I guess when if you're posing like you know about something, like I don't have a problem when it's a character, like you play a character who is an like you're playing a role in a story and that happens to be an ad for something, or like I've done an ad for crypto where I'm playing a character. I'm not myself telling people, "Arey, Kunal Roy Kapoor thinks you should invest in this." Because I honestly I don't know anything. I don't know enough about it to advise people one way or the other. But
I guess my point is that do you think there should be honest advertising? Like, for example, if they hired you not as an actor but as you and said,
right,
invest in ICICI Bank, right? So
yeah,
would the fair ad be like, I don't have an ICICI Bank account, but you could. They're
hmm,
telling me that you will get 8% return. Will you? Probably not. But who
hmm,
am I to say? I'm just telling you
yeah,
what they're telling me to tell you. So I'm telling you, invest in ICICI Bank. This is a script. Good night.
yeah,
So then you make up your own mind, right? Because then he's just telling you. Like
right,
every ad, if it's really honest, right? If you get a big star coming out there and saying, I'm going to drink this thumbs up. In real life, I don't drink any sodas or colas because I'm very health conscious. But in
yeah,
this ad, I'm going to pretend like I'm going to drink this and jump off a plane. I've never jumped off a plane in real life. Don't do these things. I've never drunk this cola. So I don't know if I drink it, it makes me feel like whether I'm
yeah.
jumping off a plane or
I,
not.
and the thing is that I think they've actually made an ad like this also. I've seen an ad with Steve Martin in it where he's saying that, listen, I'm being paid to act like I enjoy the sip of this drink. So they've
Yeah.
actually made that ad as well. And he says, I'm a really good actor, see? And then he has a sip and he says, now was I acting or did I really enjoy that? So it's
Yeah.
it's already happening. It's already that, people, because I think somewhere people can see through it, but by and large people are still taken up by seeing recognizable people or people who they've seen before. So I guess that is the appeal, right, in having someone who who you've seen, some you have some emotional connect also maybe with these people. Otherwise, why would you use sports people in ads? Why would you use actors in ads? Why would you use famous people in ads? Because you're cashing in on whatever marquee they have, or whatever traction they get. So I don't know where to draw the line. I think it becomes a problem, as we've discussed in the past, when you're acting like you really know about this subject, as
Yes. Yes.
yourself.
Yes.
If you do, then you should give the advice, because I mean that then, like, if you
Like
do
I
know
would make
about
a very good brand ambassador for Gelusil, which is a stomach medicine, right? Because I eat a
yeah,
lot and I have a lot of indigestion. But if they hired me, I'd be an actual consumer of Gelusil talking about its
yeah,
benefits.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, but I get hired to do like Borosil ads for Borosil plates, where I
yeah,
did an ad where I was eating off a Borosil plate, eating a tiny
hmm,
samosa. And the thing is
yeah,
that I don't personally own Borosil plates,
hmm.
but I see no harm. Like I know how a plate works. So if I had to
It
stand
holds
behind the
things.
plate, yeah, yeah, I'd be like, I stand behind this plate.
I think that every ad, like, how they say mutual fund investment is subject to market risk. Please read offer
Yeah,
documents carefully before investing. I think that they should have a disclaimer like that for every celebrity in an ad that just says
yeah,
this celebrity knows nothing about this product and he is completely clueless about all these things. He cannot be
in
held
fact,
liable. So there should be,
yeah,
yeah, it should
yeah.
be a
In
quick
fact, doesn't even
disclaimer.
have a college degree.
Yeah,
He's
he
studied
doesn't have a
only till
college degree.
school.
He has no idea what he's talking about. Please enjoy the ad.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like
There
something like
should
that,
be a thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
There
yeah,
should be a quick disclaimer.
yeah. This
He did
person
not
is
have a real
barely
bite of that
literate.
ice cream.
Yeah,
That ice cream is fake. He's on a very strict diet. He does not eat ice cream. And
yeah,
then you see
yeah.
him biting the ice cream, and then you know that, okay, he spat it out after that. So at least as a quick disclaimer, the expression he made was completely fake and untrue. So I'm saying that just a
Yeah,
fast
yeah,
one line thing that just says that, listen, this is all garbage. Now enjoy
yeah.
the ad.
This star has no experience flying this airline because he has a private plane that is parked in
Yeah,
Bombay. So he's never taken a commercial
yeah,
flight in the last 5 years. Welcome to Tata Airlines. So it's just
yeah.
whatever. So you just know. Kunal, something happened recently. I was going to the airport, and you know how you have these guys early, but they're throughout the day actually, but sometimes early morning, they'll be there just saying, do you want this lifetime credit card? Do you want this lifetime credit card? And there was a guy in a suit who was talking to customers saying, do you want this lifetime credit card? And at one point, I saw him having a meltdown. Like, so I walked past him, and I think he was up till from 3 in the morning doing this. My flight was about 8. I was walking past him, and at one point, he just went, "Fuck this man! I don't want to do this job." And then he had a really bad swear word in Hindi, and he just threw down the credit card and he walked away. And I realized that there are some professions where you can have a meltdown and it's fine. But there are other professions, if you have a meltdown in front of your customers, it's very hard to make a comeback. Like for example, if you're checking into a hotel and the receptionist is having a meltdown, and
Yeah.
says, yeah, I have a booking. And she's like, yeah, where's your booking, sir? 433. And the receptionist, for many reasons, having a rough day, just looks at you, just thwacks you. Just slaps you. This is not the reservation, you bastard. Just fucking thwacks you. I think it'd be very hard for that person to get another job. Like if your heart
Yeah.
surgeon has a meltdown, like if your heart surgeon, middle of open heart surgery, cut your heart up and be like, I don't like
I
blood.
can't do this anymore. This is not for me. Yeah.
That it's a tough meltdown, no? Don't you think?
I want to be a poet. And then he just leaves. And
It's just cut your heart up. He's cut your heart up and he's left.
but the thing is that one or two pilots have had it while flying a plane, and
Sure.
it's happened recently.
Yeah,
So it's
the
a problem.
German
It's a
wings.
problem. I mean,
There's a guy who flew
yeah.
into a mountain.
Yeah. So he did have a meltdown, right? As in,
Yeah.
like this guy, fortunately, was just selling, was just trying to get people to take credit cards, lifetime free credit card. But like, if other people's lives are in your hand and you have a meltdown, that's a problem.
That's tricky. That's tricky.
So I don't mind a public meltdown. I don't mind a public meltdown. Like if someone behind the counter of some Haldiram store, or like someone is selling, like at that eyeglass hut or whatever in the airport, or some bhelwala somewhere, or or a taxi driver just has a meltdown. Nahi karne ka hai bhai and just leaves. Like he just stops his taxi in the middle of the road. Okay, it'll cause a traffic jam. Things will be messed up. Some bus driver has a meltdown. It's sweaty. It's hot. He can't take it. Someone said Ganti to him, and he's just like, he's done. Ganti ka gulam, someone has called him, and he's like, "Bechod nahi karne ka hai," and he leaves the bus like that. I'm okay, because
That's fine.
no one is
Because
dying.
you can identify. You can identify with that pain. Yeah.
You can identify with that pain, and it's kind of justified, yeah. Like, but I'm saying some jobs you can't have a meltdown. Yeah? You just can't. It's just not on.
It's also where you have a meltdown. Like for example, if you're a hangman,
Yeah.
and you take the guy to the gallows,
Yeah.
and just 2 minutes from hanging him, you're like, "Fuck! I hate this job. I'm out of here," and you leave.
Yeah.
And you leave the guy on death row wearing a black cloth on his face with the noose around his neck. That's not fair.
No, that's okay. That's fair. I'm saying
that
that imagine
fair?
if he has a meltdown after he kills the guy. Then how will that guy feel once he's dead? It's a
Yeah,
dead
correct.
guy. Saying, bastard,
Yeah.
you couldn't have the meltdown 2 minutes
2
before
minutes
killing
before.
me or what?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Like you had to kill me and then you had to have the meltdown. Fucker.
In schools, children are so vicious, especially middle school from class 7 to about 11, that they want to take the teacher to the point of a meltdown. Right? Like, do you remember school where it's like you just want to be a truant enough so that they start crying, they run away? I mean, I suppose that's why teachers in our time were so violent, because they were they hated their job, they hated us. They were probably alcoholics. Now schools, kids are very nice. You have to give them a reason, you have to explain stuff, you can't touch a kid. But back then, I think it was like a tussle between, like, how do I prevent my meltdown? Let me hit some children. It was a different way, because the point of, if you were kind to children, they would bring you to a point of meltdown. Sir, the other teachers are so much better than you. They've all got houses on campus. They don't give you one or what? So the kids also push you to a point. They want to put you to a point of meltdown. And so basically, a lot of teachers become violent as a result of that, don't you think?
I guess, yeah, I guess times have changed in that sense. People, I mean, teachers still can most definitely have a meltdown, especially in a lot of our colleges, and a lot of our I mean, any school somewhere where children are flying off the cuff and all of that. But I still think, those meltdowns where they storm out or they cry, like I remember in our school we had a couple of incidents where one of the guys was very very rude to one of our male English professors, and just like unnecessarily rude, and just picking on him. He had a sort of meltdown as well. But it doesn't, I guess no one's life is at risk. It's just like horrible for all the people involved, for the class. But I would say people are allowed the odd meltdown, right? I mean, like when life gets too much to handle, you're allowed the meltdown. Like, especially on screen, we love watching people have a meltdown.
Yes.
Jerry
Yes.
Maguire, you love watching the guy storming out of office. You love watching those scenes where people are having a meltdown and saying, "I quit, I leave, I don't want any." I We enjoy those scenes because at some level we all want to have a meltdown. Like we all feel that there are moments in our lives where we're holding it together. We're holding it together. How strong are we? But when we see it happen on screen, or we see it happen somewhere else, and we like, you sometimes you see it like a taxi guy saying, "I quit." They're like, "Yeah, man, good for him. Yeah,
Yeah.
look at him.
Good for you,
Yeah,
man.
sit,
Yeah.
superb, good for you.
Yeah.
Wow." Yeah, just don't do it when you're flying my plane. That's all.
Yeah. He's doing it for the team. Kunaal,
Yes.
my last conundrum for you.
Yes.
I did an event recently for a company, and there was a keynote address. And the keynote address was by someone who'd been through a particular personal trauma, a personal
Right.
misfortune which came with a certain physical misfortune as a result of a personal tragedy.
Right.
This person was giving a keynote address about how to overcome that tragedy and carry on and be a winner in life. And they went on to be an Arjuna Award winner, etc. And the whole speech was about, how tough their life was and how they overcame it, etc. Except the time given for the speech was 40 minutes. And this person went on to describe their trauma and etc. for 2 hours and 40 minutes. But now no one had at the event, because this person had gone through a personal trauma and they were narrating the story of their personal trauma. Nobody had the courage to stop them, to go and tell them, no, your time is up. And that's when I thought about America, because Oscars, for example, are very cruel in a very timekeeping sort of way. So you have a speaker who's like, and I decided to embark on the screenplay right after my child died. Right after my 5-year-old had a tragic accident. Exactly. So they just play you out to music. They don't give a shit what you're saying, right? And in India, we just let people talk because they're talking about a personal tragedy. Who would stop them? Like, who would have the courage? I want to know your view on where you think the solution is. Where does it lie? Should we be very cruel and cut people off regardless of their story? Or if their story is tragic and, they've lost an eye or a leg, or, they've faced domestic violence, or their house is burned down, we should let them speak and forget about the length of the event. So where do you think the balance lies?
Well, I think the balance always lies in figuring out, like whether the audience is going to survive or not. Like that should always be the bottom line. And that's why the Oscars also, I mean, yeah, the most of the show is not entertaining and all that, but some of those speeches get too long, yeah, and you just don't want to hear that shit anymore. And most of the time I'm really happy that the music is coming in and cutting them off, because they just take your award and go, yeah. Now how much you're going to talk and all that stuff, and like it's enough. How much the time they give is more than enough. But
I'm with you. I'm with you. So to err on the side of cruelty is better, because let's say if you're talking about your personal tragedy, which results in a tragedy where many audience members pass out and die, then what's worse? Like like your personal tragedy has led to a bigger public tragedy.
No, and also I think that a lot of people who come for some of these things, like there's only so much that you've signed up for, right? Like it's an event with and the kind of schedule has been given that there'll be this, there'll be that, there'll be food, there'll be drink, there'll be there'll be an award or two. Someone will speak for 10 minutes. There'll be some comedy. There'll be a singing performance, and then someone will do a dance. So you kind of get a sense. But I'm saying that if someone's going to hog the whole thing,
Yeah.
then you're throwing me off. Then you're like, "Arey, I didn't sign up for so much of this. I signed up for a little bit of this, not so much. This is
Not
too much.
7
This is
hours.
too much."
So
Not 7 hours.
So basically, you're saying event managers take note that the moment you start, like it's like being on a flight. You have to keep your eye the whole time on the altimeter. It's like that. So the whole time, if the audience is looking at you, the event manager, just pleading with their eyes, do something. That's when you know the guy on stage or the lady on stage is doing something worrying.
And a lot of these events, they have other things to balance it out. Okay, like there are other things like the other entertainment that's there is to balance out the fact that I have to listen to someone who's going to talk for so long, and then there's going to be some balance of some entertainment. If there's no balance there, like, oh, suddenly there's going to be some juggling, or suddenly there's going to be a magic show, or then there's going to be a sound and light performance, and then there's something amazing, and then then someone's going to talk. So it's almost like to swallow these things, we're sugarcoating it, right? You're doing all these other things, and then the event happens. But if that other thing takes up too much time, then it's a problem. Unless I've signed up for that. Unless it is only this.
Like anything you haven't signed up for. Like if a person is giving a personal speech about how their house caught fire.
Yeah.
Now you've come to listen. If they can encapsulate, that is why storytelling is so important. If they can encapsulate everything in 20 minutes and tell you everything that happened, you're like, wow, such a life lesson. Such a life lesson. But I think the worry is that, like, if they give a speech for 3 hours about setting their house on, about what happened when the house caught fire, then they proceed to bring a set of a house on stage and then make it catch fire to show
and
you.
say, this is what happened to the upper two rooms, and that is what happened.
Yeah.
It's like, if you
and
notice,
I recovered from that and I won an Arjuna Award. That's when the audience is like, this is too much information.
Yeah.
Because I need to go stand in line for the snacks because it's warfare over there.
It's crazy. And I have coupons which will expire.
Yeah. So that's the answer. Just keep your tragedy within a manageable timeline. A limit. If you're given 40 minutes to explain your horrors, do it in 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we've gone, I think over time, our horrors have gone beyond. Even our listeners are now like, I didn't sign up for this. What is this?
Not so much. This was too much.
This is too much.
Our listeners have coupons that are expiring.
Yeah. They're like, we can't deal with this stuff. So this has been our last week. Thank you for listening.
This has.
I'm Anuvab. You are.
I'm Kunaal Roy Kapoor.
And for the next few weeks, I think both of us are on the road in different parts of the world, different parts of different things. So we will try to bring you stories from those experiences.
Yes. And do share your conundrums with us as well at our last week at audiomatic.in. And,
please do it, especially if you have attended an event that went on for too long. Tell us what the reason of that length was and why the organizers didn't cut it off, or if they did cut it off, what did they say? Having said which, we'll cut this off now.
Bye.
Bye.
You were listening to Our Last Week, produced by Rajesh Tahil and Avdut Khanolkar, hosted by Anuvab Pal and Kunaal Roy Kapoor, assistant producer Akanksha Kadam.